Okay. Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I am George Szamuely, and with me, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of The Gaggle and host of RT's flagship show, Crosstalk. Um, Peter, last week was a very interesting development. President Putin made an announcement of suggesting that the United States and Russia should work out some kind of a modus vivendi or an agreement on dealing with cyber issues, cybersecurity,
information security.
Dealing with cyber attacks and election interference and so on. Now, there was nothing inherently unusual about this because Russia has made these gestures before, particularly in regard to the accusations, the repeated accusations since 2016 that they're interfering in the United States, and they've made these suggestions before. Naturally, the response in the United States was, go sling your hook, as they say in the UK. We're not interested in doing any deals with you until you accept that you are absolute swine and you've been interfering in our elections and you've been, attacking our nuclear power stations and our banking system and so on. Then, when you've confessed to all of that, maybe we will talk. It's very strange why Russia continues to extend its hand when the response is nearly always the same, which is, off you go.
Well, this is Russian diplomatic tradition here, and particularly when times are very difficult on the international stage here. Yes, I've talked to my Russian friends repeatedly about this over the years. Why does Russia continue to stretch out the hand? And it's in the reasonable people say because it's in Russia's interest to do that. Information security, cybersecurity. This is the final frontier for our generation, for the next generation. We have to start dealing with these issues in a very serious way because it ultimately can very easily and destructively compromise your sovereignty. And I think that the Russian side is saying to the Americans, and they're saying the same thing to the Europeans, and I think they're saying that to everybody. Okay, but this was President Putin specifically directing it to the United States. Is that the moment is here now. I mean, pass up on this at your own hazard, okay? Because we all have to deal with these issues. And like I said, Russia is worried about its own security. I think also is that I'm only just presuming here, but maybe there could be in this proclamation, this message sent to the United States by Putin, there needs to be a mechanism. We need, if you have an issue or we have an issue, we need a forum. Who do we call? Who do we call? And I think that's a fair enough thing. If one country is going to be accusing another country of repeated offenses and they never show any evidence of it, just saying we just know, okay, right. We just know, just cause, okay. I mean. How is that country supposed to be taken seriously? Let's set up a mechanism where if you have an issue, we will address it and we will investigate. Maybe these are rogue actors. Maybe they're targeting us too. Maybe we could work together on this. This is not foolishness, folks. This is very pragmatic, and I think it's very, very necessary because you have so many non-state actors that have so much ability to. I mean, there was some guy that hacked into like the top 100 most famous people on Twitter, and it had some kind of political mess. Remember that a couple of weeks ago there? Right. I mean, this is the kind of lack of cybersecurity that we're talking about. What about nuclear codes?
That's exactly it. And this is why this kind of cyber warfare is so dangerous. I mean, suppose there's an accident. Let's say there's an accident at some nuclear power plant in Russia. And then someone in Russia begins to suspect that this may have been sabotage from the United States. Then Russia would be honor bound to retaliate. Is that what we want? And we retaliate, and then there'll be a horrific accident here in the United States. Again, hundreds, thousands of die. I mean, we really don't want to go down this path. So
or
this, yeah.
it's a rogue individual that has nothing to do with the government.
Well, that's
Okay.
it. Exactly, and that's the point, that the United States, and it's the United States who's been leveling these accusations. The United States accused Russia of launching all these attacks, not just election interference, but launching specific attacks against countries' electric grids, power stations, and so on, without ever providing any evidence. I mean, with this, that that the Russian government was involved, as you say, it could have been rogue elements. It could have been somebody in Russia, somebody who lives in Russia, or somebody. It's so easy to fake, the identity of a hacker. So just simply launching an accusation and saying it's the Russian government that's behind this is a very dangerous business. And the fact that the United States refuses to sit down and try to hash this out, I think it's a very, very bad business. I mean, it's
but the U.S. does it at its own peril. It does it at its own peril. All right. I don't see what you lose by sitting down and saying, okay, let's develop a mechanism. Okay. And we'll show you, or maybe we won't. Okay. I mean, but you don't have anything to lose by going down that path. I think the first time that this was mentioned, very early on in the Trump administration, where I think when Putin was visiting, Donald Trump and Putin were in Helsinki, and they talked about cybersecurity. And I remember somebody on cable TV, this is like Pearl Harbor. After the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, you want to sit down and talk security with them. See, this is the irrational behavior, because we all know from the time that these accusations have been made to date, none of them been proven. None of them. Okay. Remember hacking in German elections, Italian elections, and all. And then you have the local officials say, well, we don't know what you're talking about. There's no evidence of it. Okay. I mean, constantly making these accusations for political consumption at home, but at the same time, when you're generating these false narratives, because it really blurs the imperatives on the international stage that everyone should be worried about, and the time to do it, because we're all going to regret it. Your example is just perfect. What happens if there is a major accident in a nuclear power plant in the U.S. or Russia or any other country? Okay, if it is because of a cyber attack, and we know that Western governments have that ability. Ask Iran; they know about that. Okay,
that's right.
At some point, you got to put your cards on the table and say, this is off limits. You can't do this.
That's right. That's exactly right. And Putin kind of made the analogy of what happened during the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union came to the brink during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and so frightened did both sides become as a result that they set up the hotline. I mean, that was a new thing. That was a hotline. We really don't want to go down this path again. We really, and the same thing will have happened with the cybersecurity. Some horrific accident, thousands are killed, and then you say, I think this was sabotage, and that this was done by Russia or by America. Then we'll retaliate, and then this is horrific. We're suddenly into a very serious tit for tat, which could escalate into something much more serious.
But during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was satellite. Well, I guess it was airplanes then, jet airplanes. Jet planes were able to do reconnaissance. They saw Soviet ships. They saw Soviet missile silos. They saw the infrastructure on the ground. Everything was easily identifiable. We know that. We know what that is. But what happens if we don't have those markers anymore, okay? Because it's in the ether, okay? And that's why it's so much more important to be able to sit down and say, do you know anything about this? Because we're under attack, okay? And maybe you're next.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No, that's exactly right. But the fact that the United States and the Western countries always respond to the Russians say, look, if you have a problem, let's try and resolve this. So you have a problem with cybersecurity. You say we hacked into your election system. We hacked into the DNC server. Show us the evidence. No, we're not going to show you the evidence, because you might use this evidence against them. Well, it's the same thing with the Navalny or the Skripals. Okay, you say we did this. Show us what you have. No, we can't do that. So where does this get us? You're just throwing around accusations, and which you're not able to substantiate. So again, say, hey, okay, let's take this cybersecurity issue seriously. You say that we attacked you, okay? Show us the evidence.
Well,
let's work out some kind of a dispute resolution mechanism.
I on the Moscow Metro, I always carry a book with me, and I'm right now reading the Russian Revolution by Figgis. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And I'm right at the part with the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact of August 1939, and how the Soviet side begged France and Britain, we must have a security pact to contain Hitler, and they didn't take it seriously, and we all know what happened after that. It's not the best analogy, but there's some truth in it. Wake up. That's important to everybody involved. Can you put your petty politics and your petty phobias to the side? Because it's in everyone's interest.
That's exactly right. And of course, the New York Times that wrote about this interpreted, the Russians are really scared because Biden is likely to be the next president. And boy, are they afraid of what Biden's going to do to them. Now, let's assume that's what's motivating them. What exactly is the New York Times suggesting? What's Biden going to do? Is he going to launch a war against Russia? So what is Biden is going to do that Trump hasn't already done? I mean, it's like they're rubbing their hands with glee about what Biden's going to do. Well, what do you want? Nuclear attack on Moscow? And what's the Biden plan?
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's why this constant barrage of accusations without any evidence, this is where it ends up getting you to, because as you and I have said repeatedly in these podcasts, is that there's the only thing the Russians are interested in, it's security. Like I said, it's a short word and it's easy to spell, okay? The Russian side, since Putin has been in power in 2000, it happened at when Medvedev was president. Each time they've reached out and say, we need to reimagine and reconstruct our Western security system. The Cold War is over. But for the New York Times, it's never going to be over, because a place called Russia, where people called Russians live, until that is taken care of, they will not engage in rational thought that would be in their own national interest. But alas, that's where we are.
That's exactly it. So Russia was forever this fount of evil that wields extraordinary power and influence in the United States, even though no one's ever presented any evidence that they do this. And in comparison with Mexico, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Russia is nowhere in terms of.
Oh yeah, I mean, south of the American border, there's a country called Mexico that's a failed state. But you don't hear people talking much about it. Right. Is that a national security threat? I think so. Okay?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. And I expect a lot more of this kind of stuff from the New York Times. So there it is. All right. Remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.